The League of Legends IP has been around for almost 15 years, and its extensive roster of champions has been featured in a variety of genres such as MOBAs, card games, and RPGs. But 2XKO is the first time we're seeing these characters enter the world of fighting games. Creating a fighting game character is already a challenging endeavor, but just how much more difficult is it to translate these characters and their expansive histories into a 2v2 tag fighter? We spoke to 3 game designers behind some of the cast of 2XKO to learn more about the process of champion design and how they help bring each character to life.
Life is motion, not peace.
She's a Kraken priestess, so she is a priestess of Nagake Boros. She is a part of the Buru culture. Her whole idea is that she is encouraging people to be better by staying in motion and always moving forward in life. So she's kind of like a personal trainer who's like also trying to like make you better by like beating you up to like get your act together, you know what I mean? So she's a top laner. What she does is she kind of like sets up camp. She spawns tentacles in her vicinity. Her idea is to kind of just like 1v5 the opponent team. The entire kit is pretty much based off of her W. In our game, it's her overhead and it summons a tentacle. What her W does in League is she bonks them and then the tentacle follows up. And so I did the opposite, where all of the moves that use the tentacle from her totem will have a tentacle follow up and consume the tentacle after that. Yeah, it was actually pretty easy to figure out how to make it assist friendly, because in our game you have assists that you collaborate with, right? Illaoi just works better with a partner. Like, she's pretty minus on some of her moves, and like it's like, oh, okay, my assist can cover my weaknesses. Her startup is like super slow for a lot of her normals, and so it's like, oh, you could use an assist or tag from the assist into Illaoi, and so her assists, which summon a tentacle or use a tentacle, are very good to pair with another character. The big question was, how should the tentacles work? Should they go away when Illaoi gets hit? In Illaoi's case, it's so integral to her kit that when that happened, it just felt like she lost all of her power. If they have their own hitbox, then they don't go away when she gets hit, then they almost act as combo breakers. So she would do something really minus, like a S1, and then she would get hit out of it, but then the tentacle would come and hit the opponent, and she would be plus anyway. Or she would get a counter hit out of it anyway. And so there's kind of like an in-between of like, the tentacles have their own hitboxes, but as soon as they're activated, if Illaoi gets hit, then they also get canceled. Having 2 tentacles on the screen and using both in a single combo is kind of the dream. Well, something that Alex, one of the other designers on the team, what he talks about a lot is like, the idea is Illaoi is like walking through this like corridor, and there's just all these tentacles just like slapping the opponents around, and she's just like kind of like walking like a boss. Like, that's like the idea that that really appeals to me. Like, this is the most up close that you've seen Illaoi like in any of the games. Like TFT and League of Legends, you have this isometric view, like top down, and you kind of don't really get the details. So we tried to stay as close as possible to the idea without copying one for one, you know what I mean? So it was like, okay, the tentacles will activate after she does something, and we wanted to keep that essence. And so I think that it actually balances the expectations a little bit.
I wander, but you are lost.
Who is Yasuo? He's very stylish, and he's probably like a character that I would love in a fighting game. And so I'm like very happy I was able to design him and was able to give him all of the dreams that I had for a fighting game character like that. To me, he's almost like a dream come true character. The first impression I got from Yasuo is that he's like a risky, speedy, offensive champ. I know that it's common for like the friendly Yasuo to go in and then just die because of skill. I wanted to somehow reflect that in fighting game, and while Yasuo has like speedy moves like in League, they are cool and useful if successful. But if you aren't successful at like hitting the opponent with your moves, he's very vulnerable for a long time. So the risk reward in that sense might feel similar from League to 2XKO. Yeah, the dashes was something I really looked out for in the beginning. Right now he has forward S1 charge as the classic sweeping blade, and because he has a stance, he doesn't have a stance in League, but he has a stance in 2XKO. How he works is that when he uses these fast dashing slashy move, if Yasuo gets like a hit or block, he can cancel those into his stance, which continues his momentum. But if he like miscalculates, he can no longer continue after that. If you know what you're doing with Yasuo, he's a monster. However, if you don't really know what you're doing with Yasuo, you are going to be very vulnerable. I want Yasuo players, or successful Yasuo play, to look like a fluid, continuous movement that you can just keep going until you fail. So while they may be a little difficult to execute, if successful, he should feel satisfying to do combos, satisfying to do mix-ups, just to move around using like the stance moves that he has. You know, folks know like how I really love combos and like creating new tech or just making things from my laboratory. I know Yasuo is like a super stylish, super combo-heavy offensive character, which really fits my favorite profile as well. So to me, it was like designing my dream character in a fighting game.
Wait a minute, yo!
I really hope that y'all can really see the offensive combo dreams that I dreamt with Yasuo, and be able to hopefully experience some of the combo fun, exploration fun that I intended with Yasuo.
Unforgivable skill! Yasuo wins!
Braum time!
So Braum is sort of like our ultimate hero character. He's like a mythical folklore hero. In Runeterra, there are all these tall tales and legendary stories of feats he's achieved. He's just the ultimate hero. And he has a really fun personality too, where Braum doesn't necessarily deny these tall tales. And in League of Legends, he's like the ultimate support character, where a lot of his moves are dedicated to either entirely disrupting the opponent by stunning them and sort of locking them down, or the rest of his kit is sort of dedicated to jumping towards an ally and getting in front of them, putting up his shield, tanking a ton of damage. So he has these incredible defensive capabilities that we really wanted to make shine. The core aspects of Braum, at least to me, there's like the heroism, the selflessness, sort of like also the defender of, really he'll defend anyone, whether they're a competent warrior or if it's just a little Poro who is like relatively defenseless. This is actually one thing we had to navigate. And a lot of the IP, for example, like in Legends of Runeterra, there is designs of Braum where he doesn't do any damage. And the idea is like, oh, he wouldn't hurt you, he just protects. And that's it. Obviously, we can't do that for a fighting game. He's going to be by himself sometimes, and he needs to be able to win. So we tried to just capture sort of his personality into his animations. And Thomas Wynn, he's the animator, he did a fantastic job. Him and David Hahn, incredible animations on Braum. But a lot of that sort of like personality, which is so core to the character, we wanted to bring out in his attack animations and the ways that you sort of like string his combos together to get around some of what we see in like other representations of Braum where he's not really doing damage. There's the like traditional character development cycle that we go through with every character, and that doesn't change. But what changes, I think, for Braum the most is just thinking about like, hey, what sort of gameplay do we want to achieve with a more support-centric character? But also, what does a support-centric player want? Because a lot of times, like, those goals are totally different than someone who's playing like an insane mix-up character, and they really want to rush you down, and they want to show you some wild setup they've been labbing for days. Whereas a support character, maybe they want to flex their skill with decision-making. They want to jump in at just the right time to disrupt things. They want to know your game plan and thwart it at the moment where you don't want them to step in. It's a totally different set of aspirations. And so for Braum, we were trying to not only achieve that, but also just give him tools that, frankly, we couldn't give anybody else, whether that be like his shielding properties. We tried to focus on giving him as many tools as possible where you and your teammate were working together and you felt like a unit. Because that was sort of our design philosophy on Braum. Like, oh, what does a support player want? They want to feel like them and their partner are like linked up. You know, they're doing everything they can to succeed together.
2XKO aims to be an accessible, free-to-play fighting game with mechanics and design focused around onboarding newer players, including some that may have never played a fighting game before, without sacrificing too much of the depth and nuance that diehard fans of the genre love. How does the team design a 2XKO character for both new and experienced players?
So I am not a pro player. I would say intermediate at best. And like Kyohei, for example, is an advanced player. So we actually collaborate quite a bit to help each other figure out what kind of advanced tech would be.
I like to think my experience is really helping me to build this kind of thing, but at the same time, we have many playtesters, dedicated playtesters on the team who continuously play, our champs and give us feedback. So we do try to adjust to, all kinds of different feedback from all kinds of different play levels.
I think we're really fortunate on 2XKO where we have a lot of people on our team who are not just passionate about fighting games, but we have like the full gambit of the skill spectrum. We have people who this is their first fighting game, and we get a lot of valuable feedback from them.
We do plan out the idea that there should be B&Bs at every level. There should be the standard universal like LMH launcher, LMH air special. Or there should be a next level of, okay, what's your mid-screen and your corner combo? And then what's after that is like, okay, where's the sauce? Like what kind of OTGs can you do? What kind of pickups can you do? How does an assist mesh with the champion? And then from there, is it too much? Should we bring it back? Is this going to become a thing that all players need to do to be able to play this champion? And are we setting the floor too high? There's always these different tiers and different layers that we craft.
There's going to be the basic stuff a character can do, and then there's going to be the very character-specific, exciting, wow moments. And you want to make sure that nobody's left out of the party on the wow moments. I've made that mistake in development on almost every champion I've done on this project, where there's been a time where in development I'm like, hey, I have something that's cool, but people are left out of the party, and not everybody gets to do the cool thing. So then the challenge comes of how do you sort of sculpt the gameplay experience, how do you adjust it, what sort of adaptations can you make to the kit, where you can preserve all of the high-level concepts, but you can sort of open up at least the start of that fun for all players. But it's not easy. It's a lot of trial and error and watching players of all skill levels play your characters, see what they latch onto, and honestly, looking at faces. Like seeing if someone does a move and you see their eyes light up and there's a smile on their face, that's not fake. That's a really real thing to chase.
So what do you think of Riot's methods for translating League characters into 2XKO? And for those that were lucky enough to play in the Alpha Lab, could you see any of their design decisions when you played? Let me know in the comments below, and as always, thanks to our patrons for their support and for you for watching. Until next time.